we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump.
Watch The View hosts have an absolute meltdown over Meta's free speech decision. Joy Behar asks the mind-boggling question, what does free speech have to do with fact-checking? While Sunny Hostin spins conspiracy theories about billion-dollar motivations. Plus, witness the liberal elite's spectacular panic over losing their iron grip on controlling what Americans can and cannot think. Stay tuned for my sharp analysis of this revealing episode that exposes everything wrong with daytime TV's thought police.
Here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more.
When did fact-checking become a bad thing?
Since Donald Trump became president.
Yeah.
The worst thing that he has done is caused this misinformation and lying going on.
Oh, the delicious irony of watching The View hosts have a collective nervous breakdown over Americans getting more free speech. Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar's faces when discussing Meta's decision to end fact-checking. You'd think Zuckerberg had just announced the end of civilization itself. Let's dissect this spectacular display of liberal elitism piece by excruciating piece.
What does free speech have to do with fact-checking?
Because it's imperfect. It's not as simple as the sky is blue, the grass is green. We know the facts on that. Sometimes it comes into opinions or viewpoints. This is still a town square. I tend to be a free speech absolutist as long as it's not harming someone else.
We know the difference between an opinion and a fact. We do
no,
it
but
every day.
A lot of this can be viewpoints where somebody could say, well, this is my viewpoint on it, and they were moderating things around language you used around certain issues.
Joy Behar, bless her heart, actually asked, what does free speech have to do with fact-checking? Well, Joy, let me explain this slowly since you seem genuinely confused. Everything. The left has gone from championing free speech in the 60s to demanding thought police faster than you can say content moderation. And isn't it fascinating how quickly these self-appointed guardians of truth forget their own history? These are the same people who once fought against censorship, who demanded we question authority. Now they're the authority, and they're terrified of being questioned. The sheer panic in their eyes at the thought of Americans thinking for themselves is priceless.
Start delving into hate speech, which is what is happening all over social media, there's a problem with that. When you start delving into misinformation and disinformation, there's a problem with that. Meta's new hate speech guidelines permit users to call people in the LGBTQ plus community mentally ill. That is harmful. That is harmful. This is about the fact that our many corporations, and especially these oligarchs that own these social media companies, are bowing down to Trump so that they can make money off of the American people.
Now, let's talk about Sunny Hostin's remarkable performance today. Her conspiracy theory about Meta's motivations would be amusing if it weren't so revealing of the left's actual agenda. They're not worried about protecting the truth. They're worried about protecting their monopoly on it. The most telling moment came when they suggested that without fact-checkers, Americans can't distinguish truth from fiction. This, my friends, is the soft bigotry of low expectations that defines today's liberal elite. They truly believe you're not smart enough to think for yourself. The condescension dripping from their every word would be offensive if it weren't so laughably transparent. And then came the predictable hate speech card. Let me be crystal clear. The View's hosts aren't worried about protecting minorities. They're worried about protecting their narrative. These self-appointed guardians of truth have decided that you, yes, you, aren't capable of handling information without their filtering system. The mental gymnastics required to simultaneously champion diverse viewpoints while demanding censorship would win Olympic gold. But here's what they're really afraid of. Americans are waking up to their game. The View's hosts represent everything wrong with today's media elite. The smug certainty, the intellectual dishonesty, the thinly veiled contempt for average Americans. What we witnessed today wasn't just wrong. It was a masterclass in liberal hypocrisy, perfectly packaged in an hour of daytime television's most condescending programming. The mask has slipped, revealing the true face of liberal elitism. Here's what I want to know from you. Should tech billionaires like Zuckerberg have the power to decide what's hate speech versus free speech? Or should Americans be trusted to make these decisions for themselves? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're sharing your opinion, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join our growing community of critical thinkers who aren't afraid to challenge the liberal narrative.